The Babysitter and the Clown. It was a Saturday night, and I was babysitting a family's 2 kids for the night, while the parents went out together. I arrived at the house, and the mother and father thanked me for coming. Before they leave, the mother pulls me aside and tells me this. "I want you to stay up in our room tonight, because my kids will wake up screaming in the middle of the night about a clown that appears in their doorway at night that comes to kill them. Our room is just across the hall from their bedrooms. So if they wake up, just go in for a bit and comfort them." "Sure," I responded. Kind of odd, but whatever. The kids were both only 8, and there was a brother and a sister. The parents leave, and I wait until the children's bedtime at 9:30. I get them ready and tucked into bed, and make my way into the parents' room. As soon as I walk in, I jump. There was a statue of a clown in the corner of the room. It had a plasticky look to it, so I knew it was fake. But there was something really creepy, and almost lifelike about it. Of course the children are scared of a clown. The parents have one in their room. I think to myself. I sit on their bed and start to watch TV. I'm on my phone and watching TV for about an hour, when out of the corner of my eye, I see the clown almost fidget a tiny bit, like a little twitch. I knew I had to be seeing things, but it was still creeping me out, so I headed downstairs to watch TV instead. Another hour passes and the phone rings. I pick up and it's the mother calling. "Hey, we're going to be heading home now. Just calling to see how everything's going." "Sounds good." "Going well. The kids are in bed and I'm downstairs watching TV." "Downstairs?" "Yeah, I was up in your room before, but that clown statue you guys have was really creeping me out." We don't have a clown statue." The children scream. My last time babysitting. I checked my watch as I walked up to the door. 10 minutes late. I'd been babysitting for them for 6 months. I was sure they wouldn't mind. Mr. Lopez answered the door. "Hey, I'm sorry I'm late. I started to say, but stopped when I saw him. His face was soaked with sweat and he looked slightly agitated. No problem at all," he said, ushering me inside. In the kitchen there was only a single light on, above the table. At it, Mrs. Lopez was writing something, feverishly, on a slip of paper. "I'll be right back. I have to say goodbye to Denise." Denise was their 1-year-old daughter, who I'd been watching for them. She disappeared into the darkness of the hallway, leading up to the stairs. "What movie are you seeing tonight?" I asked, setting my bag down on the table. The pad of paper had holes punctured through it, as if Mrs. Lopez had been pressing the pen down hard. I don't know. I guess we'll decide when we get there." Mr. Lopez was shifting from foot to foot, looking more worried by the minute. I noticed a pretty sizable cut on his right cheek, dribbled with dried blood. "Are you okay, Mr. Lopez?" I asked, but before he could answer, I heard Mrs. Lopez returning from upstairs. We should get going. Goodbye, Casey," she said, pulling me into a hug. She tightened her grip for a moment, and I could have sworn I heard a soft sob. "Thank you for everything," she said with great difficulty. She began to say something else, but her husband grabbed her and dragged her out the door. Before he closed it, he gave me a mournful, almost apologetic look. Then he closed it, and I was alone in the dark house. I thought about going out and talking to them more, or maybe even just leaving, but in the end I decided to stay. Not turning on the light so as not to startle Denise, I climbed the stairs in the dark and headed into her room. I approached the crib, I was about to lift her up when I saw a note laying on top of the blankets. I read it by the streetlight that glared feebly through the window. Casey, I'm so sorry. He broke in while we were getting ready. He said he was going to kill us, do horrible things to Denise. He asked if anyone knew about us, and we told him about you. It's an exchange. I'm so sorry. I hope that God will forgive me. One day. Looking out the window, I saw them pulling out of the driveway. They were crying, and perched in Mrs. Lopez's lap was Denise. Behind me in the darkness, the door creaked open. Creepy encounter while babysitting. So I babysit at least once a month for this one family. I like them, because they pay me more than my usual hourly rate. They have a big house with internet that I can use to do homework, and the two kids are surprisingly well behaved and compliant. So the two parents have a monthly ritual of going out around 5 p.m. and returning a little after 2 a.m. I'm always offered to sleep in the guest bedroom and stay until morning. I usually just stay awake and abuse their satellite TV, and then leave when they come back. The house is in a nice neighborhood without a whole lot of neighbors. Very quiet. Also, their house is armed with an alarm system that I have the code to, and can arm and disarm it through my phone. That'll be relevant in a little while. So I always take the kids out for pizza at this place that has an arcade. I do this so that they tire themselves out and go to bed early. Plus, the little girl that I babysit is also on a mission to win a family of stuffed animals from the prize store. So I'd be the world's worst babysitter if I didn't guide her in that pursuit. I was sitting at a table and watching them play in a ball pit, while also texting on my phone. This couple came over and sat at the table with me. It was a long table, with parents scattered here and there. This wasn't alarming. The couple looked normal enough, both probably in their mid-20s, possibly a little older. They talked to each other. Then the guy asked me, "Are you the one babysitting Dr. So-and-so's kids?" The parents of these children are both doctors, and the specific region that we live in, this would be common enough information, but I still chose to answer their question with an irrelevant statement. I wonder what they use to make the pizza here. Yeah, I know. I'm a master of deception. I deserve an Oscar for my performance. However, they seem to see right through my clever ruse. They started making weird comments. They talked about the kids' parents. They commented on the daughter, and how they wondered if she would look as pretty as their mum. I don't know if that was intended to be creepy, but I'm just going to be safe and pretend that it was. Then the woman says to me, and I quote, "Do they really let you dress like that while watching their kids?" She motioned with her eyes towards my t-shirt, which was admittedly a little tight, though aside from a little bit of a bosom crack, not revealing. I have a thin frame and a large chest. It's 90 degrees in my region of the US right now, and it's not like I can wear a hoodie. And my tits have a Crips and Bloods type relationship with any kind of shirt that has buttons. I saw that as my cue to go and get the kiddos and bring them to get their prizes so that we could bounce. After some very thought-provoking and philosophical debating, they both got their prizes and we headed back over to the house. So fast forward a few hours. Both kids were bathed and put to sleep. I delivered a heartwarming rendition of Goodnight Moon and read a very spooky chapter of The Werewolf of Fever Swamp and tucked them into dreamland. It was around 9 p.m. I was caught up with homework and was just watching TV when I heard some movement on the porch. I didn't think much of it at first, but the doorknob started rattling violently. I initially started moving towards the front door to see who it was. But miraculously, I remembered it was late at night. I was home alone with 2 kids, and I very much wanted to live. I turned around to grab my purse, which is where I keep my taser. As I'm moving, the back door starts rattling as well, and was accompanied by some banging noises. It's when I remembered that I forgot to enable the alarm system after returning. Now, if this was a horror movie scenario, of course the alarm wouldn't have worked, and the intruders would have made their way inside. I hate to disappoint you if you were expecting something a little more exciting, but I enabled it again quite easily with no incident. I ran upstairs and grabbed the 2 kids, put them in their parents' room in the walk-in closet. I still hate that I scared them. When I gathered them up, I gave no context as to what was going on. I didn't want to tell them that someone was trying to break into the house. But in the process, the fear of not knowing seemed to be worse. I instructed them to stay in there and stay quiet, and only to open the door if they hear me talking to them. I then locked the bedroom door, which is the only door on the upstairs floor that locks. I sat there with my taser out and hit the panic button on the phone app. Several minutes went by. Then I got the notification through the app that the alarm system was disabled. I planned on calling 911, even though the panic button already took care of that. But I found it more beneficial to arm it back. Then it disarmed again, so I armed it again. Then it disarmed once again, so I armed it once again. By this time, I could hear what sounded like 2 sets of footsteps walking up the stairs. Good job, girl. You locked yourself inside with 2 potential assailants. I was holding it together for the sake of the kids, but not too deep inside. I was scared to death. When I heard the footsteps get near the door, and saw the knob twisting, I took a deep breath and pulled the trigger on my taser, just to let them know that I was armed, though it realistically wouldn't do much good. I informed them through the door that the alarm was triggered and police were on their way. Thankfully, it was greeted by a familiar voice. Veronica, it's Dr. Stevens. You're safe. I opened the door and ran into their arms and started sobbing. I hadn't realized truly until it was over just how scared I really was. The kids came out, without me giving them the okay, but their parents were there, so I let it slide. When I enabled the alarm on my phone, they both got a notification from the place they were at. With the app, we have the option to view the porch cameras as well. When they got the notification that the panic button was activated, they saw through the camera there were people on each side of the house, 1 man, 1 woman. When the alarm kept disarming, that was them trying to get into the house. A police report was filed by them, and I gave a statement mentioning the 2 weirdos I met earlier that day, even though there was really no evidence that would directly point to them. Camera footage didn't give any positive face IDs either. So yeah, I was scared. I'm getting over it now. I'm just grateful that the couple I was babysitting for were close enough to make it to me. I hate to say it, but I find the police response time to be terrible. I'm currently back in my own apartment an hour away. I checked in once to see how the kids were doing, and they're holding up fine. I'm just glad they had proper protection in their home, and that this didn't end up to be any worse.